Today I want to talk a bit about productive hobbies and why I think that we should all have them. So before we get started on that, let's clear up what productive hobbies versus unproductive hobbies would be. So a productive hobby could be something like exercise, it can be fun, but you're also benefiting from it. It could be something creative like painting, drawing, writing. It could be something else that's useful like learning a language. Whereas an unproductive hobby would be something that's kind of just a time filler, like it's just purely for fun or to fill up your time, like say watching TV, scrolling your Facebook feed, playing video games, that sort of thing. And with regards to these unproductive hobbies, you don't actually have to stop doing any of them. We all do some of these things. We all, either watch TV or play video games or, spend time on social media or whatever. I know I enjoy video games, I enjoy binge watching my favourite TV shows, stuff like that. And that's perfectly fine, but what I want to suggest is that you add to that. You add some kind of productive hobbies to your life, and now I'm going to explain why. So in my mind, it really comes down to this one factor, momentum. You see, productive hobbies have their own benefits. If you learn a language, then hey, you can go visit a particular country and you can understand the culture a bit better, you can meet new people and so on. If you exercise, it's going to make you fitter and healthier, it might help you lose weight and so on. But there is a benefit that you get from any productive hobby, regardless of what it is, and that is the fact that while you're doing it, you are being productive. This is something I've talked about before, both in videos here and also in my self-improvement course, Hard is the New Easy. But usually the hardest part of doing anything is just getting up off the couch and actually starting. I'm sure you've noticed that yourself, like some days you'll wake up and you don't even want to get out of bed, like you just feel like even getting out of bed is too much work. And yet you'll notice that if you're actually doing things, you're up, you're active, then it's easier to keep working, and that's because of momentum. If you're sitting around, it's very hard to then switch to the state of being productive. On the other hand, if you're being productive, it's very, very easy in comparison to remain in that state. So for this reason, the more time that you spend being productive each day, the easier it is to remain in that state. So when you're trying to actually get some work done or you're trying to do something that requires you to be productive, you don't have to muster up all this energy just to start doing it because you're already in that productive mindset. Let's say all you do is sit in front of the TV or all you do is play video games, then you might have fun doing it, but you're going to find it much harder to then transition into that productive mind state when you need to do it for work, or when you need to apply for a job, or when you need to work on some project, when you want to do something creative or whatever. You're just not going to feel like it. You're going to feel like you don't want to do any of these things. I think that's where this image of the kind of couch potato, sitting in front of the TV, too lazy to do anything, comes from. It's not that sitting in front of the TV makes you lazy. It's that if that's all you do, then it's very hard to get out of that state of just sitting around. And I've observed this in myself. I've noticed that I have quite a few hobbies that are procrastination oriented. Like I said before, like binge watching TV shows, like video games. And when I engage in those hobbies, if I then have to go and do some work afterwards or do anything productive, do my exercise or whatever, then it's a lot more difficult for me because I'm just kind of in that lazy sit around and procrastinate mode. And for this reason, I've often set up my day in a way where, I get work and important things like my exercise done first and then procrastinate later. But what never really occurred to me before is that there is another solution, and that is just to procrastinate less in the first place. Still have time where I'm just enjoying myself, just relaxing, but spend more of that time relaxing in productive ways. Reading a book, writing, that sort of thing. Then combining that with what I've already been doing, in other words, trying to keep procrastination, to the late evening after I've already done everything I need to do, it means I can stay in a high productivity state all day long. In short, procrastination kills your momentum. So if you want to keep that up, if you want to keep being productive, you really need to keep doing productive things throughout the day. Obviously, you don't have to do them 24/7, but just try and introduce one or two more productive hobbies into your life, and I think it will really help. That's actually where this video idea came from. I was making a video for my patrons, where I talk about what I'm doing at the minute. And what I'm doing at the minute is trying to introduce more productive hobbies into my life so that I spend less time procrastinating and stay productive. In my case, I've been trying to get into music a bit. I'm trying to learn some basic music production stuff. I'm trying to learn piano as well. And I've noticed doing that I have just as much fun, if not more, than the unproductive stuff that I do. And at the same time, it's easier to, for example, go from working on some music to then recording a video or to then working out or whatever, because it's not like I'm in this state where I'm just not thinking and not really doing anything like I am when I'm procrastinating. So before we end the video, the last thing that you're probably wondering is, how do you even choose a productive hobby? And I think it's going to come down to a couple of things. I think there are a couple of factors that you can consider. The first is just hobbies that you enjoy that are also productive. If you enjoy reading, then hey, reading is probably a great hobby to have. If, like me, you love music, which I admit is probably the most generic thing to ever say, as I think everyone loves music, then hey, explore that. Find some hobbies there. And the other factor to consider is things that can benefit you in the long run. If you're out of breath after going up a set of stairs, you might want to introduce some physical exercise. If you have a lot of free time, but you're stuck in a job that you don't really like, you might want to introduce some hobby that can potentially be turned into a craft at some point and actually make you some money. In some cases, you can even turn some of your less productive hobbies into something that can coincide with a productive hobby. Let's say that, for example, like me, you enjoy video games. Well, you could perhaps investigate learning to code a little bit and perhaps one day make some of your own games or make mods for some of the games you play or something. Or if, like me, you also enjoy watching YouTube videos, you could set a rule that each day part of that time that you spend on YouTube has to be dedicated to learning new skills, watching educational content and stuff like that. With that in mind, if you're up for the challenge of adding a new productive hobby to your life, or even several, and you already have an idea of what that hobby might be, then let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear. And if you're up for another challenge, then I highly recommend checking out my self-improvement course. There is an entire page detailing everything that the course covers. So rather than describing it here, I'll just link to that in the top right hand corner, and there should also be a link to it down in the description below. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and enable notifications. If you want to support the channel, check out my Patreon page, and if you want to keep watching, check out one of the videos on screen, go watch that, and I will see you soon. Take care.